They're probably good at building tunnels that go underneath the wall, I'll tell you that.
Well, somebody sure is, because that stuff's been going on for hundreds of years, or at least dozens of years anyway.
Oh, it's been going on for a long time. Anyway, we're going to be back in 4 minutes with Tim Swarts, and then it's going to get interesting. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark with me, Gary, and my friend James.
Driving through Monument Valley on a star-studded sight, trying to find a white spot to rest my soul for the night. The moon was full and glowing, illuminating the desert floor. I saw rocks and sand and cactus from my driver's window door, when suddenly in front of me, like a vision from beyond, an apparition on the roadside appeared and then was gone. Saw something running fast. A primal fear came over me like a nightmare from the past. A werewolf-looking creature that ran on twos and fours. My breath came fast and ragged as it ran next to my door. A clarion thought came to me like the ringing of a bell, that I had just been set upon by a raging hound from hell.
Beware, unwary driver, beware as you drive on. Your reality is changing, and it's hours before the dawn.
If you would like to hear Night Dreams Talk Radio on your local radio station, let them know. Tell them to check out www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. And thank you.
Coming to you from some far point station, like a cosmic tumbleweed, both north and south of the Pleiades. Here's your host, Gary Anderson.
Well, here I am, and I'm going to get a hold of Tim right now and get him on the show so we can get the show moving.
Hello.
Well, hi, Tim. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I am staying out of trouble, and how about yourself?
Well, it's no fun to stay out of trouble, but I guess I haven't had too much fun lately.
I can tell you one thing. The subject that we're going to be talking about tonight, it has blown up my emails like you wouldn't believe. And I got so many text messages all day long. And, you know, it's crazy.
Really? Huh?
So
it surprises me that there's still that kind of interest.
I think right now, Tim, I think anything to do with abductions, UFOs, back engineering, especially with Bob Lazar going and talking what he's talking about, has drawn so much interest into the community that anybody that believes in UFOs, I mean, you know, I think it's just going rampant out there.
Mm-hmm. It always fascinates me when you think that a subject is kind of, what's the word I'm thinking of? Not died off, but like the interest has waned a little bit, and then the next thing you know, boom, it's back in the forefront again. Things always work in cycles.
Oh, tell me about it. And it does. Why don't you tell the listenership out there a little bit about yourself? And you do a podcast with Tim, so why don't you tell them about that too?
Sure. Well, of course, I'm Tim Swarts, and you know that I have been interested in this kind of stuff for more years than I would care to reflect. But I do a podcast with Timothy Green Beckley called Exploring the Bizarre, and it's heard Thursday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern on the KCOR Digital Radio Network, and that's it's kcorradio.com. And I guess at this point you can even go to your Alexa and just say, Alexa, play KCOR radio, and it'll just pop right up. Technology is a wonderful thing sometimes.
Well, it's sure advanced quite a bit in the last year or two, hasn't it?
It has. Well, I think about, it wasn't that long ago that most of us didn't even have, personal computers and the internet, and it just seems like this, just in a couple of years' time, now, everybody's connected, and now everyone has cell phones, and such a large majority of people get their internet from their cell phones. I guess I'm still somewhat of a purist. I like to use my computer because, have you ever tried to do any kind of writing on a cell phone? No, it doesn't work.
Not at my age and with a cracked screen. I tell you that. And then if you use the voice section, to use voice to do your writing, who knows? You can actually, if you're sending a text to somebody and you use the voice command, you could make enemies really fast because it'll take some of the words and totally misconstrue what you're saying, and it can come out and says, I love your wife more than I like you. When you're sitting there saying something else, it'll come out and I just use that as an example. It can come out far worse than that. Trust me. I've had it happen to me. I don't know if you ever done that, but I never will use voice again unless I'm talking to a friend.
Right. I don't use the voice recognition to send text too much, but I have a couple of friends that sometimes, especially say they're in a car and they're sending the text message through voice, it comes out so garbled that I can't even tell what they're trying to say. It's just a hodgepodge of different words. It's like, oh, okay.
Oh yeah, that's and it can get embarrassing too. I had something that I sent to somebody, and they sent it back to me. They say, "Do you know what you just said?" And I read it, and I go, "Oh my God, I don't even want to ever talk to this person again." I was so embarrassed. it really even used some words that I don't even normally use popped in there, and I don't even know how it happened. That's technology is moving faster than I think it should be going. But tonight, before we get into the Colonel, Bob Lazar, since the last time you've been on the show, I've done a lot of research. And I still have, at one point I believed everything he said. Now I'm kind of really getting skeptical because after having, Bruce Maccabee on my show several times, I just don't think we had the technology then when he was supposed to be at Area 51, going back and trying to figure out how a propulsion system worked in UFOs and all this stuff. I don't think we had the technology to even begin to figure that out.
Well, I do agree with you. If somehow, I'm somewhat like you. I have my doubts, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays on whether or not we actually have gotten our hands on advanced extraterrestrial technology, because I'm still not completely convinced that the UFO phenomena involves extraterrestrials to begin with. But if we are dealing with a race that has managed somehow to conquer the whole distance between solar systems, galaxies, what have you, then more than likely they are using a technology that would be practically incomprehensible to us. It would be like magic. It would be comparable to, we were talking about, computers and cell phones. If you sent a cell phone back, let's just say 500 years in the past, and it would, it could still work somehow, and say like play downloaded, music or movies or things like that. Well, anybody finding it would think that they're dealing with some kind of magical device. They wouldn't have any idea on how it would operate. And so if the United States government has gotten a hold of alien technology, how easy would it be for them to actually try to back engineer this kind of technology? And that's one of the things that Lazar said, was that these craft, at least the earliest ones that they had allegedly, had come from. They've had them as long as late 1940s, and then there were some newer models. But any ideas that they had on how these things operated was just, it wasn't a lot, and that was one of the reasons that they were bringing Lazar and other people like him in, because they were looking for different perspectives, some maybe some different ideas outside of, say like the mainstream thinkers of, scientists and engineers. So, it could very well be that the stories of being able to figure out that some components of these spaceships were using a type of I can't remember exactly what he said. It was like it used like gravitational waves that would actually pull time-space to the spaceship, and then the spaceship would kind of like ride along as it rebounded back to its location. And that's some fairly advanced thinking. But is it just, was it just theory? Was it just, we see that it does this kind of effect, so maybe that's what it's doing. So I don't know. I tend to think that Lazar, did have actual experiences, that he was there and he did see something. Now, Tim Beckley, he thinks that possibly Lazar is a beard for somebody else. And, what I mean by a beard is that Lazar is telling somebody else's story who doesn't want to come forward at all, but wants that information to get out there. So they got Lazar to say that he was the one who was there, because he had, somewhat of the credentials, and they had, some of the expertise working for, various research and development companies, and it basically is repeating somebody else's story that we'll never know who they actually were. So, and Nick Redford now, he thinks that there's a possibility that it was all just kind of like an elaborate hoax put on by the say like the CIA in order to kind of work like a honey trap that would draw in say, Russian spies, that they knew were very interested in what was going on at Area 51. They were located themselves in Las Vegas.